So today, Olympus are launching the new EM1 Mark II.
It's not the EM1, it's the Pen-F.
What?
Pen-F.
Pen-F?
Yeah, not the EM1.
Not the Mark II?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Sorry everyone, there is no EM1 Mark II, I make that up. In the meantime, however, there is the Pen-F, and this has basically been a redesign for Olympus. The Pen series models have had a kind of slow progression at the moment because everyone goes straight for an OMD, and it's because of the specifications, it's because of the design. What you'll find here is that Olympus have pulled out all the stops to make this a superior camera.
It's been a few years since we've seen a high-end Pen series camera, and we've seen a drastic drop in sales in the UK market because of it. But the Pen-F is including some welcome improvements that might just change all of that. A 20 megapixel sensor, new body design, and finally a built-in EVF.
The key thing that Olympus have done, have integrated a viewfinder into this camera. That is so important. I cannot stress that enough. Everyone in the past has always had to put on one of those snap-on viewfinders, and in the first generation, they fell off. The second generation were low-grade quality, or too expensive, and subsequently no one bothered. You had this stupid great big attachment on the top that meant that this stopped being a pocket-friendly camera. They finally have jumped on the same bandwagon as the X Pro series, where having it on the side here is ideal, and just like any rangefinder, effectively having it close to your eye, nice and easy to operate. Now the key thing I really want to try on this camera is the new 20 megapixel sensor. We've been so used to 16 megapixels for so long from Olympus that I can't think of anything different. So we're going to try that out, we're going to compare it against its old predecessors, and in the meantime we're going to have some fun taking some shots. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Ergonomically, Olympus have changed this a great deal. There's subtle little bits all over which really make a change from the rest of the Pen series we've seen previously. The dial control on the front is the first thing you'll notice. This little click dial system means that you've got access to different color controls straight off, which I think is an important one here. Olympus want you to play around with this camera. So subsequently, color, monochrome, art, they're all built in on a front dial. The design overall is a lot more easy to operate. We have, once again, like the OMD range, finger and thumb controls there. The viewfinder looks very porthole-esque, as if it was something off of an ancient camera as well. But then integrating things like the flip screen options as well make it incredibly versatile, very much more ergonomically friendly for you to use, but then also to try in different angles as well straight away. You've got on the top here as well quite a new addition which we haven't seen before, the option of putting in a good old screw fit plunger. We've also got the exposure compensation. That's a first for Olympus to have it integrated onto the body as opposed to a dial control you can change. The only other thing that's particularly strange about this, and just shows how they've designed the camera, is that there are no screws visible on it at all. This is so smooth, so sleek, there is nothing getting in the way of it. The design of this has really been changed. The thing about this is now as well, having the exposure control on the top, like a lot of the others, makes it very easy to alter that. I don't know what they've done to the screen, if anything, but the actual resolution and quality of it as well looks really nice. There's a lot of detail coming through. The refresh on it doesn't seem to be a problem. So as far as what you can see and how quickly it responds to light and darker areas as well, it seems all good. Dealing with dynamic range, this camera seems pretty good overall. The fact that I'm shooting directly into the sunlight, which is behind us at the moment, and we've got the foreground and background really showing a difference between them. The key thing is that Phil's freezing his ass off, aren't you, Phil? Yep. Unfortunately, the sun poking directly at him, warming him up, is an ideal thing for him, but it also produces some real opportune moments for me to get some great photographs as well. The creative dial on the front of this camera really does make you feel like you want to play around with the shots you take. This is something that Olympus want you to do, so changing the art modes, changing the filters, the processing, means that we've got so many different styles of shot we can take, which generally make it more fun to use.
What I really like about the Pen-F is the ability to take advantage of the in-body stabilization to help create better dynamic range. Using the two together, you're able to achieve a handheld HDR photo using 5 images. Just look at the extra detail in the reflections of the windows you're able to achieve in this shot opposed to non-HDR. And especially in this instance, just look at the detail of the foreground you're able to achieve with this combination of in-body stabilization and HDR functionality.
Like the rest of the OMD range as well, we've also got the 5-axis stabilization system on this camera, which means that for long-range lenses like the 40-150, we're able to get really good long-distance shots. The stabilization works particularly well for images, but you can also then use it for video as well. Now, although this isn't doing 4K, what you will find is the features on board, combined with the fact that we can tilt the screen, make it pretty good for it anyway.
The Pen-F is offering 1080p 60 frames per second at up to 77 megabits per second, same as the current OMD range. However, with no headphone or mic jack, and with Olympus still lacking 4K, it still falls behind its rivals.
So just checking the drive mode here, we've got the high res option on this one. That's only been available so far on the EM5 Mark II, but means that you can get some incredible detail out of something that's a really small camera. Once the camera's set up in high res mode, it needs to be on something nice and solid. So a tripod's ideal. In this instance, we have a barrier holding the Thames back from drowning us all. All you need to do is make sure it's nice and solid on that surface and take the shot. It will take several in one go using the stabilization system, which normally would be there maneuvering against you. In this instance, it's using that to then move around and take several images and then merges them all together for you instead, creating a much bigger picture.
The high-res shot on the Pen-F is actually 10 megapixels higher than the EM5 Mark II at 50 megapixels. And even though it's giving you incredible resolution in such a small body, it's still not the thing to use with moving subjects, as seen in the river. It's still best used in controlled environments with still life and a tripod.
As a quick test of the 16 million pixel sensors versus the 20 million pixel versions, we've devised this little rig here so that we can get the same shot near on identically at the same time. So hopefully you can see that in its performance.
Comparing the two sensors, the EM1 actually looks about a third of a stop brighter, even at the same settings. The lack of an AA filter is really helping the EM1 keep up with the higher resolution sensor of the Pen-F. However, the Pen-F is showing noticeably more detail in the shadows. Looking at this brickwork, we again notice a slightly brighter shot from the M1, and to me, just as sharp, if not sharper.
Trend at the moment also is to repackage things that we've already known, and that way we associate with them better. So lo and behold, like videos, media, everything we're seeing these days is a remake of something we already know. The EP1 there, of course, with its viewfinder and 17mm, which you could get as a kit, now is all encompassed in a Pen-F with an electronic viewfinder and a 17mm, which is a 1.8. It's one of those scenarios where we keep seeing these changes, and like Star Wars, where you see, you know, episode 4 and then watch episode 7, it's practically the same thing, but better, apart from dying. We're going to take this opportunity to head indoors now because it's mid-January and Phil's freezing to death behind the camera there, aren't you, Phil? Let's go. We're finally indoors, it's a lot warmer. We're going to try out the ISO settings next.
Going through the ISO range, the 20 megapixel sensor handles well. The processor really helps the smaller sensor handle noise, and the images look decent at even 6400 ISO. Even 12800 looks good, albeit with a bit of detail being slightly smudged out, and 25600 is just there for giggles. Comparing the Pen-F to the EM1 at ISO 6400, the Pen-F does indeed show a tiny bit more detail and less noise when cropped in. The Pen-F has been a nice refresh to the range, and as always, we'll see these specifications emerge in OMD, and so makes it great insight into what's to come. The addition of the viewfinder is great, and it's going for that retro look we're seeing from a lot of brands at the moment. It's a little bit of a shame that other than that, the Pen-F hasn't brought anything exciting to the market that we haven't seen before. The key is that the F is a camera to carry around with you. It's not meant to be classed as a professional camera. Still, the Pen-F can hold its own in the mirrorless market, and the design and looks are some of the best we've seen in a camera.
So what's new about the camera? It's got its epic 5-axis stabilization system in there now, massive bonus, and a new and improved EVF. The new EVF is absolutely brilliant. 2.36 million dot, 1.24 magnification. It's very much similar to the EM1 and EM5 Mark II. So hopefully from the results we see here, we'll get a good result. Or die trying in the cold, because it's not warm, because it's January. Why are we on a bridge in January? Things we do for work.